How are you doing?
Good. My name is Julia Gazzola, and I am a junior midfielder on the Goucher women's lacrosse team. I'm majoring in biochemistry and molecular biology, and it's crazy to me that I'm already going to be a senior next year, considering we didn't have too much of a season this year.
Yeah, well, this year and last year. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
um, so I just have a list of questions here that I'm going to ask. Some of them you might have to uh, dig into your memory for, but
It's been
um,
it's been a hot minute, so we'll
yeah.
we'll try and keep it.
um, so the first one is a little basic, but why did you choose Goucher College?
That one's actually probably really simple, and the easy answer is Ange Bradley. So she was the coach for field hockey and lacrosse when I first came to Goucher. Um, and I mean, I grew up an hour and a half away from Goucher. I'm positive, 100% positive when I visited, I pronounced the name of the school wrong. So I hadn't really come in contact with Goucher, if it hadn't been for Ange. So pretty simple answer.
Okay. Um, the next question is when you came to Goucher, the women's lacrosse team was coming off of a 3-10 season, and your class helped to build that program up, which then led to your Final Four season. And what do you think was key those 4 seasons that helped your team improve so much?
I mean, honestly, I don't think anybody at that time came in knowing what the record was or anything about history. It was kind of, we all came to Goucher for our own reasons. And I think the biggest key was how the team came together. And it was not just a unity aspect, as it really was kind of a sense of purpose. I think you would be hard pressed to find a group of people that were as competitive as that group. Everyone's going to have days where practices are amazingly fun, and then you have those days where you're like, oh my goodness, this is awful. But the reality is the hard is kind of what leads to some of the good. And even in the most crazy practices, I think we were able to have a sense of fun and competitiveness. And, you know, as much as Ange would push us, it was also a case of everybody pushing each other, and not wanting, to let the team down. Um, and it was a crazy ride. I mean, I'm trying to think, and I'm one of those people, like, I couldn't tell you the score of pretty much any game we played for my entire career. I probably couldn't tell you who we beat in what year, but I can remember bits and pieces of some moments. And it was our sophomore year. I'm pretty sure we had a T-shirt made up, and it said across the back, and then there were 15. But I know when we went on spring break, it was, and then there were 15, like that was our spring break T-shirt. And then we came back, we wanted to like take a marker to it and be like, and then there were 13, because somewhere along the line, like people got hurt or something. And so I'm pretty positive we played some games that sophomore year, player down. I don't think we were actually at a full 12 on 12 for all of those games. So it was just kind of like, what you guys have been dealing with for 2 years. All right, there's going to be an obstacle. We'll figure out a way to deal with it and whatever. Like, let's just go. And granted, the game was a little bit different, or okay, it might have been a lot different. Like, we didn't have restraining lines. There were some games where it was just a sheer race. One of my favorite all-time pictures that my husband has was me, and there were like 9 players from the other team chasing down the field, because at that time everybody could go on offense, which was kind of crazy if you think about it. But it was just a ton of fun as a team. That yes, we were super competitive and we paid attention to the records, but I don't think that was ever something that was first and foremost in our mind.
Hmm. Wow, sounds like a really good team atmosphere.
It was by far pretty flippin' awesome.
The next question is in 1995, the team wins the CAC championship, but there's no postseason tournament. How did that season experience help the Final Four run in 1996?
Um, well, I can't claim that I remember how we felt at the end of that season. I think we had one loss maybe that year. Um, but selections for NCAAs were completely different than they are now. There weren't any AQs, only 8 teams went to the tournament to start with. So let's face it, if sophomore year we were playing with 15th or I don't even know. And I couldn't tell you what our record was sophomore year. But I'm pretty sure it wasn't almost undefeated. So we sprang on the scene junior year. It's not now, 25 years removed. It's probably less painful to think about and understand than it was then. Because I'm sure we were all like, why aren't we in? And so yeah, it probably was good motivation for that senior year, but I'd be lying if I could say I remember sitting around watching the NCAA selection show and being disappointed. I don't even know if they did a show then. I'm sure we were upset. Um, but again, it wasn't like we went into every game going, we're going to nationals, we're going to nationals. It was just, we're going to go out and we're going to play as hard as we can. And I would definitely say crush some people was kind of fun of the fun. Um, and it's weird what you remember 25 years later. Like I can't tell you how we felt when we didn't get into nationals, but I can tell you there were times we got off the bus and people would be like, "Oh, is that your whole team?" Um, because I guess there were teams in our conference that would, not travel everybody, and we're like, "Yeah, this is all of us. Like this is what we got." I can remember being on fields and there's one team that was in our conference that had this fraternity house set up around it, and I'm pretty sure I remember which school, but I'm not 100% certain. And I can just remember them all talking trash because we went from not being good to being really good. So I think it was kind of nice to get back out on those fields and be like, all right, here we are. And send a message that way. But I don't know that we went into the 95, 96 I don't know if we went into that year going, all right, we're going to go to nationals. We're going to go to the final four. Like, I don't ever remember sitting around talking about it.
Mhm.
But I'm sure we thought it.
So back then, like I know now, if you win like your conference championship, you're automatically like
Yeah.
into the tournament. So that didn't exist back then.
No, and it was, yeah. And I will say that part of that move to going to automatic qualifiers was probably a long time coming, with a lot of people feeling like maybe in some ways the same teams after the same teams after the same teams kept getting into the NCAA tournament. Um, yeah, that did not exist when we went.
Okay, so the next question is that you and many of your teammates were a part of the 1994 and 1995 field hockey NCAA tournament teams, and you were also just coming off of an at-large bid on the women's basketball team in 1995. So, how did those experiences of your success within both the field hockey team and the basketball team, how did those experiences help the women's lacrosse team in the Final Four run?
I mean, every NCAA experience was different. Um, just because the sports were different. So I think from an experience standpoint, you kind of knew what to expect. Just in terms of getting into that environment and the whole credentialing thing and the limited practice before the game or just being on a different field. But for me, the biggest thing they did was make you appreciate them. Like, so for example, in 94 when we went for field hockey, we still had another year. Or I still had another year, because not all of us did all of them. And then 95, okay, well, field hockey, we went to nationals, we lost in strokes, if I have my years correct. Um, but we still had the rest of the year. The biggest difference to me was that lacrosse championship. And I'm still gonna get emotional about it, which is crazy because it's been 25 years. But, we went to graduation. We wore our uniforms under our robes. And I swear if practice and graduation had conflicted with the NCAA tournament, we would have been on a bus. And I'm sorry, like I didn't need to walk across that stage. Like we were like, this is what we were gonna do. And the difference between field hockey and basketball and lacrosse was when lacrosse ended, it ended. Like For those of us that were seniors, we were done. Um, and my husband took a ton of pictures of me playing sports at Goucher and in college.
Mhm.
And I do not have a single picture from after that game that I would willingly hang in my house because we were falling. Um, because it meant a lot. And if
Mhm.
any of my players are currently watching this, yes, obviously I don't just cry at senior day for you.
Um, all right, so following along with that, um, what are your memories of the NCAA tournament games against Roanoke and Middlebury?
Well, Roanoke, I mean, we played on our field, which back then, the greatest thing about, so you obviously play on a field right now that has boundaries. When we played, there were no boundaries. Like the captains would go to the meeting with the officials, and I can literally remember they would look and they go, all right, you see that tree? You see that tree? Let's keep it inside that. And we had this monster size field. Like it was, I kind of joke we would turn lacrosse games into a track meet. So the Roanoke game, I remember we kind of just went on a tear. I'm not sure it might. I think at one point it set the record for the most goals scored in an NCAA game. Um, I I'm not sure if that's the case anymore. But it was just no holds barred. Like, and maybe it was okay. We didn't get in the year before. We've got something to prove. Um, but it was so much fun. And I can remember Cranji scored a crap ton of goals, and it was it was um, just the most fun ever. Um, Middlebury, on the other hand, could very well go down as, obviously, not only was it the game that ended our season, I will still to this day say we did not perform. Like, I think anyone who walked off that field, like they were a steamroller of a team. Um, I think they had a very specific game plan and we did not adapt very well to certain things that happened in that game. And most of us walked off that field just wanting one more shot at putting it together. Someone I know who was at that game goes, God, we watched that game. We just didn't know how you guys got in. And it was pretty much, it just was not great. But on the same token, we were there, and we have the trophy. And I wish I could have smiled while holding it. I might smile now if I came back to Goucher and lifted it up. But it was kind of a rough ending.
Yeah, I bet. Um, I just can't even imagine like not playing with any boundaries. I'd like to see a video of that happening.
No boundaries, no goggles, no restraining line. I'm trying to think what else would be different, but those are probably the big ones. Like, I mean, we obviously, and that was also, um, you've probably never played a game with people using wooden sticks. There were still people using wooden sticks. God, now you're making me feel really old. Uh, but yeah, it was a different game in a lot of ways. I'm not when the restraining line went in, I thought I was going to hate it because, hey, if you're not in shape, we're just going to keep sending people. But I do kind of like the space that has been opened up because of the restraining line. I think it'd be kind of fun to go out there and play with the new rules.
Yeah, because you were a midfielder, right? So you.
Yes, I was a center. The only time I didn't go both ways, it was probably about a 5-minute period somewhere along the line. I had gotten hurt and I was coming off of being out. And Ange thought, all right, well, we'll have you play attack. Oh my God, I couldn't do it. I was like, if I can't run, just put me on side. Like I just can't stay in the attacking end. Like I need to run. Um, yeah, I kind of wanted to be up and down all day long. Uh, I'd make an awful libero in volleyball. Um,
Yeah, it's a little similar to how I am. I just want to go out there and just run the whole field if I can, any chance.
exactly. You're out there. You might as well have some fun while you're doing it.
Yeah. The next question is 25 years later, what do you think the legacy of the 1996 women's lacrosse team is?
It's kind of hard to think about having a legacy, not gonna lie. um, because I would legacy to me means something that people look to, and I don't know, like, I mean, the reality is that that game, that team, that year was before any of you all that were currently there were born.
Mhm.
So that's a little bit weird to think about, that that would be a legacy and something that you would look for. Um, I think maybe the best way to look at a legacy for that is in comparison. Look at where we were to where we went. And that, to me, the legacy should be, if you put in the work, you put in the effort, and you do the things you need to do, then that can be anyone's legacy. It was a definite magical, I mean, but what you all probably don't know is there were people on that team in the Final Four who hadn't played lacrosse until college. So it's not, the legacy should be one of set a goal, work your butt off, and go after it. And especially as the last 2 years have kind of sucked from a collegiate everything standpoint, but especially, to me as a college lacrosse coach, you know, um, when you look at the opportunities that people have lost, you can sit around and, be like, oh, why did we only have this many games? Or why haven't I been able to do X, Y, and Z? Like, we have teams in our conference we haven't played in 2 years.
Mhm.
But you don't have control over that. You just have control over what you're going to do to get ready for the next time that you're on the field. And I think the legacy should always be enjoy every second, because sadly it comes to an end.
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely very motivating to me because, um, well, I don't know if you know, but Goucher didn't
Yeah.
compete this season, when every other school in our conference did. So I'm trying not to think of it as a setback. And like you said, like I'm just letting that fuel me to just work even harder and just look even more forward to being back on the field again in the spring.
It's kind of like, so I was a runner. Like, I would run all day long in a game, but here's a little secret. I am not a cross country runner for a reason. I don't like to run without a ball, a stick, a scoreboard, whatever. And the best runs I ever had as an athlete were coming off of an injury, because when you don't have something, you sort of miss it. Like those everyday runs, like we would do the loop. Do you guys still do the loop?
Yeah, yeah, we
Yeah.
do.
So, and I think the loop has changed because the road has changed, but those were the most miserable practices. I can remember doing the loop from the gym, and I would get to that pile of rocks. Is there still that pile of rocks near where it's on the left-hand side behind the science building, kind of where the psych annex used to
I,
be.
are they like big rocks?
Yeah, giant rocks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So my freshman year for field hockey, we ran the loop for preseason, and I got to those rocks and I was like, yes, I'm halfway. And if you've ever done the loop multiple times, you realize that's nowhere near halfway. And so I used to hate running the loop. Um, the best time I ever ran the loop was the day after I got back after being injured, because I was like, when you can't run and you can't do something, it makes all that stuff that normally bothers you kind of meaningless. You're like, let me go. So as much as everybody wanted to have a normal season this year, and some people had a semi-normal, some people had a completely not normal,
Yeah.
the reality is the first day you get back out on the field, like for us this season, the first time we heard the national anthem before a game, like it was lights out, let's go. So you'll get it.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it in the spring.
Yeah.
Um, so this might be of some news to you, but you're already in the Hall of Fame, but the 1996 team will actually be inducted into the Hall of Fame this year as the inaugural team of distinction. Um, what does it mean to you to have this honor and to be inducted with your teammates as a team into the Hall of Fame this year?
Um, I mean, the reality is it was a team effort. Um, and as a team, we didn't do it for the accolades. It's nice to have that recognition, and I know um it's appreciated. Um, you know, Obviously it means a lot, because hey, thanks for making my Thursday emotional. I think it's just a chance to celebrate something that was really, really special. Um, And anytime we all get back together, the crazy thing is to just see how it just feels like no time has passed. And that's been when other people on our teams have gotten into the Hall of Fame, and sometimes I'm able to get there and sometimes I'm not because, I'm a coach and we have these things called
Mhm.
games and seasons. But I'm sure for all of us, it's a moment that we look back on. And admittedly, I don't think we realized at the time how special it was. And I'm not 100% certain we still realize how special it was. Like, there's a lot that goes into getting into the NCAA tournament. There's a lot that goes into getting to the Final Four. And, people can debate and argue back and forth whether it was easier then or harder then. The reality is we took, I don't even know, I mean, 8, and now there's over 30 some teams that go. So I might err on the side of it might have been a little bit harder. Um, but the reality is it's super special even now. Um, yeah, no, I'm super excited to see you guys back out on the field. I know, the fall's gonna be kind of crazy different. We've actually come up, so my husband's family still lives in Baltimore. So we've been able to get up a decent amount and see some of the changes and see dorms moving, which is just kind of crazy weird. So campus has definitely changed a little bit, but a lot of the same spirit I think is still there from when we were there. So I can't wait to get back.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Well, it was
fantastic.
really nice to meet you, and
You too.
I'm looking forward to watching all the other videos of my other teammates interviewing some of your teammates.
Yeah,
Thank
for a
you.
second, I thought you were gonna say, "I'm really looking forward to watching the video of you play," and I'm like, and sadly, we didn't have Huddle then either, so I don't really actually know. I would be dying to see video of some of those games, but I don't even know if it exists, which is kind of sad, actually, because it's not completely burned in my memory, but yeah. All right, well, good luck with finals. You have
Thank
those coming
you.
up?
Yeah, this week actually.
Okay, well, good luck with that, and hopefully I'll see you in the fall.
Yeah. Take care.
Okay, bye.